Hey, welcome to Blogging Lunchtime Bytes. And it's almost lunchtime here. I think actually William Rock is the only one in the house who is at noon because Ron Snayberger is on the East Coast. So we have three time zones represented. Um, our tech scholar for today is Ron Snayberger. Amanda may join, but it may be late. Hi, Ron.
Hi. Hi, Bill.
How are you today, Ron?
I'm doing great today. I'm excited to learn more.
Are you ready to play around with Canva?
Yes, yes, can do that.
Me too. Hey, William, how are you today? You're gonna rock the house. I had to say that, you know that.
No, you have to do that. No, that's the fantastic part about my last name. I've been hearing it since I was but I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. This is so fun. Just in the green room, we've been able to get a chance to really connect. Where we've been able to be in the comments before, but now it's awesome. Thank you again.
Oh, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to have you with us. I know what I've had to learn about search engine optimization or SEO. Everybody's heard the SEO term. But to have someone who's specializing in it on the show just makes me so happy.
Well, it's cool because you do all sorts of other geeky stuff. So I'm excited to learn more about Canva because I've played with Canva a lot, but I focus more, like we was talking about in the green room, a little bit more on Photoshop and Fireworks, but there's other ways that people can use the technology and it doesn't have to cost them a lot of money, right?
Right. I mean, Canva gives us the opportunity to play around with graphics, and even I think they have the ability to purchase images now. So if you don't have just the right image you're looking for, maybe you can find something on Canva.
Yeah, most of them are $1 a piece, I think, maybe a couple bucks at the most. So there's a lot of free things on there, but there's also, if you want to do a little bit more, you can purchase an image.
So Ron, are you ready to design your header?
Well, I don't know what we're going to do, but you guide me step by step, and I think we'll get through it.
Well, I guess when I say are you ready, do you have a concept of what you want your header to look like?
Well, I know I like the color blue, so I like that. I don't know. I'm at a loss to what to do otherwise. Font-wise, I do like a cursive type of a font, and
Well,
maybe because I engraved it.
Right. Well, William, can you give us any tips on, okay, so Ron's thinking about the design of his header. Is there anything in particular that you would say that needs to be done? Like I would say you need to grab, attention with your header because that's the very first thing people are going to look at.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you do have to grab the attention because you only have a split second. They're gonna look at your header, and then they're gonna look at the bio and the rest of the information about you. So you only have that split second, just like in video or any other opportunity with your website. So you have your header. Now with blue, I love the blue. It's a good color. Now your font, it's going to be unique to yourself. But what I want to go for is what pops. Now, and not just the font, like just placing text in places, but where in position are your eyes going to go within that split second. So if you say, for example, you only have 10 seconds to look at an image, and then you're going to go scroll down to look at the About page. So 10 seconds to get as much retention as possible. So you're looking at okay, a personal image that represents a human touch, right? Okay, so that's one. So now we've got blue around you. You might be in a blue shirt, just to offset a white background. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with blue. Me, I like black, as you can see. And what you'll see with a lot of my posts, I do a different twist with black, with gray, and red. Because it kind of stands out. Now this is blue. How do you play with that? And I think blue, black, and white are very soft. We see that with Facebook. We see that with all the other social networks out there. So those are like calming colors. But then how do you offset it in your title? And then so you've got the image. You've got kind of like your message, but then over here on the other side, what else are you going to say that's going to capture their attention to get you down the net? Does that help a little bit? Is that kind of...
Yeah, Arizona and I kind of talked about what I should be looking for with today's vision as far as what I'm get out to people right now, what people kind of recognize me with, and that's being a motivator and,
Sure.
and inspiring people. So that's also part of, I guess, what we got to look at for my, from my header and how to look at that.
And one of the examples I want to show, not really, I want to show the screen in a second, but if you ever look at my profile, like on my profile there's a header, and basically it's a very dramatic header. It's basically a graph that shows a drop in algorithm in traffic, and then it has a guy falling that says, don't put yourself in this business position, right? So there's all sorts of different little things I was creative with in my header, but at the same time as I use that as a branding effort, because if I'm a core business, even if I'm just a blogger, I still have an identity, right? So my identity is on Google Plus mainly, but then I go over to Twitter, right? And so Twitter gives you that opportunity to put a little header up there. But they have different criteria. The size, the dimension has to be different. So I had to take the graphic that I created for my Google Plus and then just modify it a little bit for Twitter. And the same thing with Facebook. I did the same thing with Facebook because even their criteria were a little bit different. And like the name, like where some of my images were, like the name on Facebook was like overriding that part of the image, and so that people couldn't see my name. So I was like, well, I just want white over that. So what you're trying to do in your entire header is making it simple, concise, to the point, and then they're going to continue down the page.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I know I took all my headers and redesigned per size for Facebook, for Twitter, for Google Plus, and we have a couple shout outs I want to give real quick because I love involving the audience. We have Joyce Dickens enjoying this from Washington. Yay, Joyce, we have you back. I'm so glad. And Debbie Ferran says hello from beautiful Florida. Another Floridian enjoying the 80-degree weather. What are we going to do? And Ant Art 19 is in the house and says thanks. So what I'm doing right now while he's been talking, I went ahead and jumped into the visual editor for Headway on your site, Ron.
Okay. So
I'm going to screen share over there, and you and I can talk about some of the direction you want to go. Hey, I always have trouble with his name. I think he said he pronounces it Wake. But hi, how are you? I'm so glad to see you in the house.
That would be my friend Vivek. Vivek is a fantastic friend of mine from the UK. We've done plenty of hangouts together. So thank you so much for attending, bud.
Hey, I've been on a couple of hangouts with him too. He's really awesome and very knowledgeable.
He was my storyteller on one of my biggest hangouts. Who Moved My Cheese? Well, it was Who Moved My Cheese, but it's in the technology realm of the book. We tied everything together really well, but he had the best story. It was just like that was how the show started. I loved it. So thank you, sir. I appreciate all your help on that one. Sorry,
and I'm so glad you joined the show.
So
okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and screen share. I'm gonna dump my camera off, and I screen share. So this is where we're at, Ron. And we're only going to look at your first page to begin with. So do you want a sidebar on your first page? And you would have the choice of left or right, or double, either double on one side or double, or you can have the empty grid.
My feelings, I like to go with the simple. I think it, the old KISS thing, keep it simple. And but what are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is all new to me.
On a front page especially, I like using this one because...
That's the one I draw, my eye went right to that one first.
How about you, William? Okay.
Sorry, I was in the comments. I'm apologizing. I just kind of went over to the comments and started reading and put myself at mute.
Oh, that's okay. I was just asking if you agreed with going with a wide... We can add so much more to this, so I can add a sidebar, or we can add a widget area anywhere we want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a great start. And then Ron, you mentioned something drew to your eye. What was that again?
The one that the header that we're at now, as opposed to having things on the side. I like keeping things simple. I think it's that way people look at it and it's there.
Yeah, no, that's that. Even like if you look at like the Facebook or the Twitter, like I mentioned before, it's the simple, and people kind of adapt to that even on their phones. When you start looking even at the smartphone, when your site kind of or your headers go down to a smartphone variation, you've got user experience that comes in play, and then also where's the eye drawn, and so looking at all of those aspects, I think are key too. But great start. I mean, this is great wireframe. I love where you're going.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Headway, is that it's a wireframe. So we can, if we wanted to draw the header this way and put a menu up here, we could do that.
So Headway, is it a free tool? I mean, this is a great tool. I've never seen something like this. I mean,
this is phenomenal. And no, it's not free.
And I wouldn't expect it to be, yeah.
I'm giving it, with anyone who gets a gold membership, they get this free with their website that they get, because gold members get not only the free site on Today's Visions, they also get a free website in addition to that.
This is neat because a lot of tools don't give you the capabilities just to make those type of adjustments. You have to do it by hand coding everything.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to learn more about that. So yeah, continue. This is fantastic.
Okay, so Ron, I need to know if you want your header to go all the way across, or if you would like to put like a short menu up here on the top, or a place for text up here on the top, or whatever.
I think right now I'm looking at all the way across.
Okay. So all the way across is 940 wide, and we can see when we mouse over the header, it actually gives us a size. And it's 940 pixels across, and they say a height of 130, and the height they're talking about is minimum. So we can make it as tall as we want. And I was thinking maybe around 200 to 250 would give it a little bit more beef.
Okay.
And to give you an idea of what that's going to look like, let's go ahead and move and show you some more how easy it is to play around with this. We're just going to move this around. So the only thing I don't like is it's really difficult to increase the size of the outer box. You have to really play. But if we move everything down, and let's go ahead and make this, say, 200. There we go. Then it would look something like this, which I think looks pretty good. Now we're going to jump over to Canva and actually start designing your header.
See, this is where I'm really excited about too, because as you're building this in Canva, now when you change something in Canva, that just automatically goes to your header, right? It doesn't.
No, there's no connection. So we have to download the image and then upload it,
Okay.
as far as my best understanding.
Okay. Didn't know if that was dynamic. I thought that was. So I know that that's also in the social, which is dynamic. So if you change something and you say you messed up on the image, you can go back and change it. But
Right. But here's another header that, this is one I designed for Thinking Out Loud quite a while back. And I really liked the way it came out, even though my base design I did in Photoshop. But it gives you an idea of what you can do.
Yeah. No, fantastic tool.
It is. Okay, so we're going to go back here and go into, we're going to use custom dimensions. And so our width is 940, we know. Oops, I'm dyslexic today. And the height is 200.
200.
And we hit design. Okay, so it gives us a blank nothing here. But we have several layouts that you can choose from. And if one appeals to you, Ron, just holla.
I don't know. I'm going to throw something out here. I've been mulling some stuff over with Dr. Lou Jensen on. I don't know if you've seen my banner on my Google Plus profile, but it's multicolored and it's burger bites, and that's what we went for. But we came up with something. Rain Dow said something to me when I was chatting with her. She said, "Ron, you just being you is awesome." And I played with that a little bit with Dr. Lou Jensen, and we came up, how it is B2B, business to business. Well, we came up with something that might work for me called You Be You, and underneath that, you being a better you. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, or I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, that's a great transition, because I mean you've got some opportunity with the current header, and that kind of brought me back to also what I did with my headers. I've gone through so many different rebrands, and so changing the graphics, just testing it, that's something that kind of came to what you were saying just a minute ago, which is you were testing something. Right. And that's the key, that really comes down to one of the other keys is if you don't test, you don't know. Oops, sorry. If you don't test, you don't know. And I think that changing, like you've got a great header. I mean, I was looking at it today on the Google Plus profile, and then replicating it though. Once we find that one that works, replicating it across. So once you have that nice header on your home page, and it's themed, and you've got a consistency, you just continue that process through all of your profiles. So in here you would probably change it to whatever your header would be currently. But great points, though. I mean, look what you're saying in there caught my attention.
Oh yeah, I actually really like this. But okay, so you want to change it? You want to get away from the burger bites concept?
We were kind of thinking, that it was okay for a start, but it's more of a catchy thing as to being more of a professional type thing. I don't know what people, what your thoughts are on that.
Well, you probably want to also do, okay, so bring me back to your profession. So what we're working on in this graphic is to basically inspire inspiration and encouragement, right?
Right.
And so there could be a couple different tests that you can do with your header that can, if you were to change just for a week and see what the reaction was, right? Because it doesn't cost us anything to change it. We're not going to affect any SEO. We're not going to check. that does not affect anything with Google, but we can test that for user experience. And we can say, okay, if I modify this header a little bit, and I change the message, or I bring something down a little bit, or move something over a little bit here, what does it do? And did I get more engagement that week? And that's kind of what I've tested as well. I mean, if you go back to all the headers that I used in my Google Plus from day one, there's probably at least 1,000. But that's because I'm always testing anything and everything. And it's exciting to me when I hear that opportunity, because that's what we're looking for in branding. When you look at a website, it's user experience. How do you modify here to get the user to actually click over here where you're intending them to go? Same concept in social too. It's just how do I bring them from my message to go, okay, here's who I am, here's what I represent, here's all the actual things that are about me. And then also here's all the places that I represent. I contribute to here, here, and here. And then that brings your brand representative and your authority of your person or entity, I think, in a different light, because it's a first impression. It doesn't matter if it's the first impression of us speaking, physically here today, or if it were just in content. The next level of engagement is that video communication or that handshake. But before that actually happens, you have to have the engagement. And I think that, blue, like you mentioned, calming color, like she's bringing up in Canva, we've got opportunities with so many different color palettes, different fonts, different layouts. You can actually use different. So there's so many opportunities here to play with that what I would probably say is just test it, especially on your Google Plus. Even if I don't know if you're on Facebook and Twitter, but they have the opportunity to let you post that header as well, and try to keep it consistent. So if you're working on one theme for the week, stay across all of your profiles. That's what you consistently use, and then test it. See if that helped your engagement. Did it actually bring you more people? Did it bring you more sales? Because somebody heard about you and they were like, "Oh, this guy's really professional. Let me, reach out to him." And so if you just have the regular profile, everybody's used to that. Everybody's like, well, they didn't finish their profile, or about page is not finished up, and then it contributes all the way down to the website. So as I go from a profile on social, I go to the website, and then that's my next level of engagement as well. So it depends on the actual, what are we selling, e-commerce or B2B or B2C. So
I do know I got a good response on that. The banner on Google Plus. I was on an after show on somebody's hangout, and the host introduced me and said, "Oh, this is Ron, and you got to look at his banner." And she described my banner without even pulling it up. So I'm thinking, gee, we're talking about changing it, and now somebody just described everything on my banner without looking it up. So it made a hit somewhere along the line.
Absolutely, and that's the cool feedback that we get. We get that kind of information back, and I do love what you're going with. I mean, it's a different twist, and what I'm probably just suggesting is little modifications. Nothing crazy, but just testing it. Just the same thing. If I was to do an e-commerce page and I was selling a widget, I would test the image of the widget, and if that image was not representative enough to sell a product, I would probably test again and say, okay, well, let's take some better pictures. Let's get maybe a studio and maybe see what we can do. Or is it my description? Is it what I'm saying about that product that's having the hiccup of not getting the sale? And so it's really going back to the fundamentals of looking at what is the user experience. And the feedback, like you were mentioning, the feedback is important, because it's what the user wants or expecting.
The feedback is huge. I'm just
Arizona,
playing around.
if we went back to my banner that you showed on, I don't know if you can do it.
Right here. I got it.
Okay, where, home of Ron's Burger Bites, where it says tender and tasty advice,
Mm-hmm.
if that got eliminated and we worked with that UBU, like the letter U, capital B, capital U, and underneath that YOU being a better you, I don't know if that could be thrown in there.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think I would take away the tender and tasty advice. I definitely would keep a studio of inspiration and encouragement.
Yes, I like that.
Because the studio kind of reflects back to your engraving work.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I definitely. But somehow or another, I think I would like to get Snayberger in there, your whole name.
Okay.
Whether you were to do Home of Ron's and then quote Snay, quote, and then put Burger Bites would work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back to what you were doing with.
No, I was just
Canva.
Playing. I'm hoping that
okay.
you have this image that I can play with.
And then as a secondary suggestion, I'm just curious because I think that there's a lot of things you can do with this, but I know that we're playing off of the last name, but at the same time as you do wood carvings and a lot of other things, right?
Well, it's some wood carving, but mainly my forte, I should say, or what I'm listed as a master of is engraving on glass.
Okay.
And I engrave calligraphy on glass, but I do artwork on glass. I've done some things on wood, but glass and metal are the two things that I like to work with the most. So.
Okay, and I think the next thing I would probably say or ask is what are so with glass, that's gorgeous. Engraving with glass and everything else, that there's some pretty gorgeous work I'm sure that you can show off. Now, how could we also tie that into the Burger Bites as well?
Well, my thoughts were what I can do is I can take motivational quotes and I want to start writing my own quotes and take something somebody else quote, but I want to design my own quotes. But I can engrave those on glass.
Yeah. Wow. So there's some cool photography I'm looking at that you can probably tilt like one of those pieces sideways and put it up on like a black canvas on a board. Put the glass on there, and then have a little bit of the sprinkle of the shards on the actual black canvas, and then a little bit onto the glass. Take a sideways shot though, not a full-on shot, but take a sideways shot. And so you have an angle, and then you can take the black area of your graphic into areas where you can brand it and have the white text. So it goes against your glass.
That would look awesome. That would. And I could very easily, even if you were to take a straight on and send it to me, I could very easily in Photoshop do a perspective on it to have it match the perspective of these burgers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can even tie in like a burger that's black and white over in the corner. So basically it still ties in the burger, but at the same time as it's more focused on the direction of the project.
Right.
And then when somebody looks at your profile, they go, I know this guy somehow. Oh my goodness, his artwork. And then you've got your on your photos and you're sharing. And going back to your website, you've got the opportunity to actually share all those opportunities too.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. We want to include my name, Ron Snayberger.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about getting rid of the tender tasty advice and getting rid of the Burger Bites also.
No, I wouldn't say get rid of that. I mean, basically, Burger Bites makes it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
if it were me, I think I would almost do home of Ron's, and then, like I said, in quotes, Snay, in quote, Burger Bites,
Because
and a studio of inspiration and encouragement, along with the UBU statement, but do it all on glass,
sure, it'd
like
be
he was saying.
Once we get it laid out, I can engrave it on glass.
see, that would be neat.
That would be awesome. Okay, so I need you to send me your hamburger picture in order to lay it out, Ron.
Okay.
And you can go ahead and do, well, no, let me lay it out first, and then I can tell you whether I would need it, landscape or portrait size. So if you don't mind, that was an awesome idea. You definitely rock the house.
Sorry to sidetrack everybody, but I think that there's something really neat here that's happening that, based off of what I experienced, because him and I have been talking, Ron and I have been talking in today's conversation in private, and I was really excited to be able to reconnect with Ron. But, I followed him because of his art in the past. I think I saw some of his pieces in the past, and I was encouraged to actually follow him because I wanted to see more of it. And so this kind of is more encouraging because wow, there's so many things you can do with color and font, going back to the whole beginning, and we sidetracked from blue to black, of course, and glass, but there's a way you can tie in blue straight into those and even into black and white. You got blue tints. So
yeah, I almost like the burger stain in color. And guys, this is an excellent example of how to collaborate. By the way,
well, it's basically all together coming up to stories. Let's come
the
up
idea of the burger.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I gotta get you my picture of the burger that's on the background, and now what do you and Bill, you and William want me to work? You want me to work on, or wait
An engraving.
till we come up with the whole layout, and then I can engrave it?
You can go ahead and engrave it. I would say make it a landscape engraving. So don't make it tall, make it shorter and wider.
Right.
And I can play with it whatever size and get it to fit in.
That'll make it easier.
Now we want my name, Ron Snay, and then you said Burger Bites.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Do Ron and then Snaybergers with Snay in quotes, and so we're still accenting the burgers and Bites. And then the UBU quote underneath it, and then we'll still put a studio at the bottom. And we could actually keep the studio at the bottom off of the engraving so it pops a little bit more. So you wouldn't want to include that in the engraving.
Okay. I think after I want to work with you a little bit, Arizona, on getting the Ron Snayberger Bites thing. I'll, if I can draw some stuff up and lay it out and get it to you, that we can get that a little bit better, because I'm unsure of that, and then work on that a little bit. And but I'll get you the photo of the burger and get that to you. But
okay.
This is here we're starting out and finding out, well, I wasn't too far off track to start with.
Well, if you've got a design that's already grabbing people's attention, then all you want to do is maybe tweak it and make it a little bit better. So, and I think the engraving idea that William came up with is just phenomenal. So if you don't mind, I would like to run real quick through some of the things that Canva offers.
Yep.
And then we're going to turn it over to William Rock to talk about topics and SEO.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay, so I got to go back to screen sharing. Sorry, guys. I will get my act together here one day, I promise. we have this untitled image, and I don't know if you noticed, I chose background, and I just went over and chose one of the free backgrounds that I kind of liked. And you could very easily change out these backgrounds, or even upload your own background to choose to put in here. That one's kind of really cool too. And then I went and started looking at images and the text and everything else. Let's go ahead and choose text. And this is one of the things I absolutely love, is the fact that they already do so much of the layout for us. So you could do something like this. And it's saving it. Sorry, guys. And then you can alter this as you would like to. You can change the font. Let's say you love the layout, but you're not crazy about the font, so you can change the font and change the font size. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So these layouts are really cool to give you a start. And then the other thing that you can do is you can upload your own images. So you can do straight from your computer. You can upload from Facebook, which is really very cool, or you can upload from your Google Drive. And I think we're all pretty familiar on how to upload. So I would go here and click the Upload My Own Images, and let's give Amanda a shout out. And then you just take that and I put it right here. So this is not a very good looking banner, but I'm trying to show you some of the different options that you can do. And when you pull your image in, you can actually increase the size. And they have a really good, the pixel, it doesn't get pixelated very easily. That's what I'm trying to say. William Mark, what am I trying to say?
It shrinks and it expands anytime you need it to be.
Yes.
For the device. So basically, it's very responsive, and that's what's really neat about this tool. Is it does, like, if it's on a mobile, especially, it will shrink down to proportion, and then look still very clean.
And what I really like is the fact that I can enlarge images. Like this one came in really tiny, but I can enlarge it, and it maintains the same crispness as it began with.
Yeah, it doesn't have all that. Because when you enlarge a picture, you'll start to see like the picture gets all fuzzy.
Pixelated.
That like graphic, if you look at the colors in the corner, you'll actually see, if you enlarge that, you'll see a whole bunch of like grainy, like blurry looking things. But in this case, it's not doing that. So what they're doing is allowing it for just responsive manipulation.
Right. And I think that is a good enough beginning on what you can do. And of course you can take things away and put things, you can delete things, and
it's kind of like playing Legos.
It is.
You stack and move, and that's the neat part about it. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be a geek. You just have to know how to move things around, and then at the very end you just basically save it and use it.
And download it.
Exactly, and so with that, you got your text tool, you got all the different things you kind of went through, stacking it, even with the that you showed before with the header and all the other areas of the website. It's kind of like Lego. Mm-hmm. How do we put it together? What do we want it to look like at the end? And then how do we test it?
Right, and it's a matter of letting go of your creativity and trusting your eye. What looks good.
Yep.
Kim asked, is there any way to limit a background search only to the free ones? Unfortunately, Kim, I have not been able to figure that one out. I tried earlier today, spent quite a bit of time trying to do that. Snayberger Bytes. She said you could also change Bytes to BYTES like I did with Lunchtime Bytes, just to further move it away from people thinking food is involved. The problem is that I thought about this with you, Ron, but I don't think I would do that because you're not technically. The minute you put BYTES, people think you're going to be talking about technical stuff,
Right.
and that's not where you're going. So, Kim, I have to disagree with you on that one. And Terry Lee Britton says, it's nice to witness the creative juices flow, and brand decisions are a bear for sure. And that's one of the things I like about doing the series over and over. You know, this is the second time now I've done this. Is that every series is going to be different because all of our creative juices combined together are going to create different things. That's awesome. And on that note, we are going to let the creative juices of William Rock tell us about topics and choosing keywords that will make you strong in your SEO.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. So thanks again. This has been so much fun. I mean, like everybody's talking in the comments, it's like the creative juices have flown, and there's so many ideas that we came up with just on the fly. Imagine if we had like 3 or 4 more hours, you know. So,
oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. My armchair just fell, so that was exciting. So let's do this. So everybody, you know, the hardest part of what we do in our creative juices online is coming up with content. And what are we going to blog about? What are we going to talk about next week or next month? How are we going to put together that calendar of opportunities? And then how do we gauge it? You know, there's all sorts of different things that we're asking ourselves. But then it comes up to the, well, what am I going to write again? Okay, that's the scary. So when we have to write about something, what do we come up with? What's the key words that we're thinking about? And what I want to think about is more of like how Google is actually answering those questions too. So when a searcher is on Google and they're typing in something pertaining to your business or your service, how are they going to actually come across you? And so we all know that we have some basic keywords that we love to actually pitch and say, oh, I rank number 1 for this, number this for that. But at the same time is how do we get past the next level? Okay, we rank for these, but then what are we answering for our visitors? And so that comes back to even like a simple question I get from a lot of my companies is the Q&A. What's coming in from the calls? Now, what are your clients asking you that you can actually help produce content for first? And then if that's actually helping them respond, it's going to help your call load and your sales volume go up. So let's get back into like how we discover, keywords, right? Oh, sorry, you've been asking a question.
Okay, let's put this into perspective of like Ron, who is doing motivational quotes. What type of questions, Ron, do you think that your people would be asking, that your followers or people looking for what you're doing? What type of questions do you think they would be asking?
Wow.
Sorry to interrupt, William.
Oh, you're fantastic. I was actually going to do a search query as he's talking. So.
Okay, cool.
So we'll do that. So this is perfect.
I never thought about that.
So motivational speaker would be the main keyword that I would probably first type in at the top.
Okay.
Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if you don't mind. Because
sure.
This is probably a lot easier for me to talk about with this model up. So you should be able to see my screen now. And this is actually, so you should see motivational speaker, right? Let me make sure it's blue box.
Yep, I see it.
So motivational speaker, that was my first level. But let's take, and this is one of my favorite tools to use, but we're gonna dive into this a little bit. So what we're looking at is the cost of that traffic. What kind of traffic? What's the volume? but we're also looking at if I was having to pay for this traffic. Okay, what would that actually amount to per click? So for motivational speaker, it would cost me at least $7.52 if I was to pay for that traffic. So that's a good variable to know where my traffic. So we start with this level. Now let's go down a little bit deeper and see what other queries are phrase matched with this keyword. So let's go ahead and go into, first we'll go into related. So when we start looking at this, let's scroll down a little bit. So now we've got motivational speaker was our first one, right? And then you can go down to best, and then you've got other opportunities, famous, but then you can start pulling ideas from these queries. So you can go, well, how does this relate to my business as a motivational speaker? And then how do I tie the question of the content that I'm about ready to write around those type of ideas? So we can see a volume level, and I'm not going to look at it as an SEO value. I'm looking at it as, okay, I can see an amount of traffic first, and then I can actually gauge based off of a document. I can put together a spreadsheet maybe and say, okay, I'm going to pull motivational speaker as my top. We already know in what it's going to actually equate to overall for monthly traffic. But then I might want to pull together like let's give me another keyword that's motivation. So there's a lot of different things in here.
Inspiring.
Inspiring.
Or inspirational, yeah.
Yeah, inspirational, inspiring.
Let's see what happens when we do inspire. Oops, I just did that spot. We're doing this live, guys. I'm sorry.
That's the fun part of live shows.
What I want to do is let's do it.
Encouragement could be another one.
And then in about 5 minutes, I want to address some.
So let's do. I typed it wrong, but let's just do a Google search, right? So we do a Google search for encouragement, right? So there's 85 million results for that one word, right? So when you start to take those and then you go back into motivational, so encouragement, motivation. I'm just going to let Google figure it out. Sorry, guys.
Well, it's nice to know that someone types as well as I do.
I'm not the best at it, but you start to look at this too. All right, so encouragement, motivational speaker. So we take these three keywords. That means something to anybody. It means something to Google. It means something to the actual searcher, and so results come up. So we look at, okay, so we've got this, but then we have the top level, but the next level is, okay, so we start digging deeper and deeper, and then my next question would be, okay, so you're an encouragement, motivational speaker on what?
On life.
Right? On life. So we start to actually define a little bit more of who this character is, or this company is, or this entity. As everybody keeps calling it, it's like instead of authorship, it's the entity, right? So it keeps coming back to who's actually answering the question. So we've got this, but then at the same time as ask yourself, what's the other question? What would be if somebody was in, say, needing your help? They wouldn't probably look for that keyword, but they may actually end up looking for a keyword that more relates to them in the moment, the need that they're needing your help to fulfill something in that time of that search, right? So,
well, one of the things people relate to me is how I deal with my pain, my pain problems.
Okay. We've probably even started to go into pain management coaching, right? So you start doing even now. We've got opportunity to even find other opportunities that are not just those big gigantic keywords, but now we can dig a little bit more into what you're doing. So would this be kind of, because I do a lot of pain management coaching myself, and so with that, I'm actually teaching how to, overcome with meditation and all sorts of different things. So would meditation or other things in your business like
How about doing pain management inspiration?
Love it. Okay. Okay.
What do you think, Ron?
Yeah, let's try it.
Because I think that might really narrow it down.
Right.
So we've got pain management inspiration. So let's see what we got. We got about 1.5 million in the queries for this. But that actually does, okay, so you got inspiration for pain sufferers, Pinterest, there's a bunch of other so, chronic pain is coming into that fit mix. So just by changing the way we look at how a keyword associates and how we're breaking it down from the highest level down to what you do, now this is where I want to probably focus on for your content. So let's take this keyword and let's bring this back into SEM Rush here, and let's just take a look at see what happens here. Okay, it didn't come up with anything here, but what if we do this? We just start taking in segments. So pain management, we should have actually something come up, and now we can dissect again. So we already know our top level, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we're going to dig again, and we're going to look for different things topic-wise. So when we start to look at topic-wise, pain management clinics, guidelines, techniques, academy, doctors. Let's take a little bit deeper. And the neat part is you can see different levels. So basically, like pain, the same thing we had. And again, you can start to see the traffic that's associated with it. So you can kind of coordinate your content again for the visitor experience, but knowing the tools. Now, I showed a paid tool, but I want to go into the same exact search that we just did, but with some free tools. Okay, so let's just take pain management, and let's go over to another tool here. This one was a friend of mine that actually sent it to me from, I think he's in Germany. Fantastic tool, but when you actually type this in, we'll just type this in. We'll just do a search, but it's going to actually, oh goodness. Come on. Invalid token. Sorry, that one didn't work. Oh, did it? There you go. I figured it would. So again, you basically have a free tool, and that's basically keywordtool.io. And what it just did is it basically took the search query and broke it down just like what we just saw over here, right? So all the different opportunities, but it didn't give me like cost per click or volume. But at the same time, if I don't have the money to actually pay for something, I could still go through and research with the tool.
Could you do that with pain management inspiration within this tool to see if that would come up within the tool? Or encouragement, that might be a better word.
Let's see. Yeah, you're gonna get different results based off of each query here. So let's.
Yeah, see, that still didn't come up.
Yeah, but there's another tool that I don't know if you've actually used this before, but Uber Suggest is another one that's a good one, and it's also free. I never click on the ads, but at the same time as when I do pain management, and we'll do inspiration. When you start getting into long tail keywords like that, it's very too targeted sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to back off a little bit so that you can kind of get a broader spectrum of keywords. In this one, Uber Suggest is basically it's going to go through and break down pain manage again, but it breaks. Oops, my mouse will break. So when you actually click on it, this right here is not really an exportable list, I don't believe, but it gives you the drop down, so you can go, okay, pain management, you can drill down, and it basically has just plenty of other suggestions. This works for paid advertising too, so you can use this for your paid advertising or your article creation. The other one, the last one I want to actually mention is basically the keyword planner. I'm not sure, Arizona, if you've used that before, but
I haven't.
it's something that I've really, we're going to try to do the same search, and we'll try to do inspiration next in here. But this is Google, right? So we're going to go, the way you get this is just basically do a search for Google Keyword Planner. And it's basically a free tool. You just have to have an AdWords account set up. So basically a base, you don't even have to be spending anything, but you can do that from in here. But let's just get some ideas. And it's the same analytics as you would have for your AdWords. So you're going to have a lot more data. Like, for example, we had SEMrush. We showed Uber Suggest and a couple others. But same thing. Suggested price. Competition. This one actually shows even competition, which is nice. How much am I going to actually be paying? But then it breaks it down. So let's go back into what was that last one we were doing? Inspiration.
Let's change that word to encouragement.
Encouragement?
Yeah.
Okay. I love typos. All right. About almost 2 million in that search query here. You can kind of see what's happening and who's actually showing up. But let's go over here and type into there, get some ideas.
Yay.
All right, so this right here basically gave us a little bit more, didn't it? No, it's about the same. Even if so, what I'm looking at is almost the same exact search queries. Let's take that out real quick, and I'll see. We can see get ideas. So not much really changed.
Yeah.
As far as questions there by just adding that word, and that's where you kind of get into the longer the query, more defined, and so that's kind of where I go back to the actual search query and go, okay, let's do a search. Let's see how many people are competing in that, and let's see who I really have to compete against in that query, and what are they actually doing? What are they writing?
Mm-hmm.
What are they? How are they even ranking in these places? I mean, some of these guys are pretty. I would probably say medhelp.org is probably a pretty big one. Books.google and books.google, books.google, Pinterest. So to get on this first page for that one, maybe pretty difficult, but yet there's a whole bunch of other ones. If you start writing about that and you start talking about it and you come up with ideas that can help the user, the visitor, they're going to actually engage with that. They're going to share that. They're going to do more with that. That's going to help you get the ranking. So it's connecting the dots in semantic search.
Right.
So putting all those aspects together, it's not just about having that one particular keyword on the page. It's a surrounding element and topic. And that's kind of where we kind of been drifting. Is we started out with a very high level search query, and then we've been able to define all the way down until we've gotten down to the pain management encouragement. So exciting. Let me stop sharing my screen on that one. But just there's a lot of good, neat things that you can develop as you start just looking. Go out and do a search query. See what kind of competition's out there. What are they saying? And then come up with an idea of you've got pain management encouragement. So now let's say, what would be a really neat topic that could be helpful? Maybe we take it to fibromyalgia, and we say, okay, based off of encouragement, I'm going to focus on fibromyalgia patients, and these are the topics we're going to talk about. Neurostem. We're going to talk about all sorts of chronic, the chronic sympathetic nerve problems they may have. There's all the different things that you can actually break down and then make sense of, for people.
That's very cool. Ron, do you have any questions regarding that for William?
No, I wrote down all the sites, and I'm going to play around with that and look, because I've never done something like that before. And like we talked, this stuff is all new to me. So it's there's so much to learn, and I'm gonna play around with this stuff. Like I told Arizona in a message, I'm gonna take my computer and plop it on the floor so I can lay down and work on it and just research what we're going over. But today was unbelievably a learning experience for me, and with the banner, and the header and everything else, and we turned your half-hour show into an hour again. So
hey, I went ahead and scheduled it for an hour because I figured, having to divide it up into two parts between the technical and the content generation and trying to combine both those parts within one show, we needed an hour.
I'm glad that we did, and it's been a fantastic show. There's so much I was learning as we've been going, and the dialogue is so fun. When you start, working as a team and just storyboarding and coming up with ideas and just, and that's how it works especially on Hangouts.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions from the audience. This one goes back to the header. And he was asking you, William, which is why I wanted to address it on the air. Do these things make the website load faster? What do you think, William Rock? Google places high value on page load and mobile friendliness. Thank you, Vivek.
Yeah, you really have to focus on. You really do have to focus on page load speed, and so that comes back into responsive. Responsive and how it breaks it down. But at the same time, is when you're saving your image. How big is that image? Could it be reduced in the file size? Try to get it down to the lowest denominator, or the smallest you can get it before you upload it. Only for the fact is, if you test it and you look at the quality, if you're not losing quality by bringing it down to like a 47K file, or maybe even sometimes smaller, and then of course other ones are bigger. But then you have to look at the common number. What's the phone going to load? The more that the images are, the more the videos, the more that the download happens, and it costs them more money on their phone. So,
right,
it's going to be a big key with file size and speed.
Yeah, and I mean it's I don't know if you've ever used this, William, but I use WP Smush It to further reduce the size of the images when they hit. I mean, it's just automatic.
That's cool. I haven't used that, so if we can, if you can share the link on that, I would definitely love to check that out.
Yeah, I'm having wonderful luck with it. I love it. And if you could share the links that you shared today in the show,
I will.
On the event page. And there's quite a few comments I haven't gotten to, Debbie. I'm so sorry. And Joyce says that she loves having the bird's eye view of this creative think tank. She thinks it was an awesome show, and so do I. And your burgers, Ron, you may want to go through and read, like Terry Lee and Kim Armstrong are kind of highly opinionated about your burgers. So you might want to go read that.
I'll go through and read them. Terry was opinionated about my shirts too, so it was okay.
He's an opinionated dude. I tell you what, I have to tell y'all, I am so thrilled. I hit a roadblock with the front page of today's Visions, and that's how come the redo hasn't come across. And I talked to Terry this morning and have finally talked him into, I hired him to help me. So I'm so thrilled to have Terry Lee's expertise. Since he was the one who introduced me to Headway, he was the one that I went to for help. So thank you, Terry. I can't wait.
Totally.
Anyway, yeah, there's
Terry is a geek. You'll love him.
Oh, I've interacted with Terry quite a bit and had him on the show once. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I do. I think he's fabulous. Joyce says, you have all been a plethora of useful information. Awesome show. Thank you. And Joyce and Ron and William Rock and everybody else in the audience, thank you. Without y'all, I couldn't do any of this, and I really appreciate it. On that note, we'll talk to you next week. Bye, y'all.